All right, we'll call this work session to order. Thank you all for being here with us. Our first item of business is employee recognitions. Lieutenant Lee Taylor Norbergen, Detective Sarah Daniels, Sergeant Shane Dockery, introduced by our wonderful Chief Seymour.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For this opportunity tonight to recognize 3 promotees. Tonight, they also have friends and family with them to kind of help with the process, and so we've done this in the past. We bring some special guests. I'd like to recognize Sheriff Austin Garrett, who's here this evening, and also his Chief Deputy, which will become more clear why he's here. So each candidate went through a selection process. So our selection process usually includes an interview, an assessment panel, typically outside assessors. Sometimes we use inside assessors. Usually some type of skills evaluation and sometimes a test. The lieutenant's assessment this time we included a written test for that position. But after consideration, we narrowed down and we'll discuss the candidates tonight for promotion. So I'll call up each candidate and I'll have them as they come up. They'd like to come up with them as part of this. So the first we'd like to call up is Sarah Daniels. Got a long no. So Sarah, law enforcement experience. 3 have been here with us. Previously, she has 5 years at another agency before coming to us. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics and physical education. But when you go off, she's also completed some advanced training certificates, including basic criminal investigations. And for a lot of those reasons and the way how well she did in the assessment, she was selected to be promoted to the position of detective. Congratulations. We'll read this certificate of promotion. So, the Chief of Police, having placed special trust and confidence in the professional excellence and leadership abilities of Sarah Daniels, having demonstrated these qualities and her capacity for greater responsibility and service, is hereby promote her to the rank of detective, empowered with all the authority and charged with all the duties commensurate with this rank, effective on the date of May 25th, 2025.
Congratulations.
Okay, I almost broke it. So typically we do a kind of a pinning ceremony, right? So in this case, she selected her husband, Spencer Daniels, to pin her.
So sweet.
Change location.
They ring around the detective.
You still got it. Just put it in the top one.
All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
No, congratulations.
The second one, Shane Dockery. Or put the wrong name on it. This one actually is a little more special to me personally because when Shane started his law enforcement career 21 years ago, I had the opportunity of teaching him at Law Enforcement Training Academy. That's a long time ago. Shane's been employed with us at Red Bank full-time for 21 years, law enforcement officer. He served as a canine handler, patrol corporal, and an investigator. He's also more recently worked as a detective for the last 10 years, primarily investigating narcotics-related crimes and serving as a task force officer, investigating with a drug enforcement agency. He also served as the police department SWAT commander since 2009. He holds many advanced training certificates and instructor certificates. He also coordinates like annual regional SWAT training classes as well. So he's been here, he's dedicated to the agency and to the city. And so with that said, I'm happy to announce the promotion of Shane Dockery to the position of sergeant. I got to read the certificate just like I do everybody else. The promotion, the chief of police, having placed special trust and confidence in the professional excellence and leadership abilities of Shane Dockery, having demonstrated these qualities in his capacity for greater responsibility and service, does hereby promote him to the rank of sergeant, empowered with all the authority, charged with all the duties commensurate with this rank, effective on June 22nd. So we put it a little ahead. We just did his, but anyway, even though he's able to wear the rank. Now let's see if I can do this without sticking myself in my fingers. I did that pretty good.
All right.
Lee Taylor Norbergen. Her son Jacob's with her. Jacob actually, he's actually, well, he started working with FBI. He works out up in Knoxville, working with them, so kind of long book to the family. Lee Taylor has almost 35 years of long. Now, please don't add these years up and figure out what she told me. Please don't try to figure out when she was born. Born before 1980. 35 years in law enforcement with 20 years in supervisory roles sometimes. She started her law enforcement career in 1990, working in a couple of different agencies in the last 15 years have been with us here at Red Bank Police Department. During her law enforcement career, she served as a recruiting officer, crisis intervention officer, hostage negotiator, field training officer, field training supervisor, patrol corporal, patrol sergeant, and patrol staff sergeant. She's received Supervisor of the Year and a Leadership Award. She's also completed a 5-week law enforcement leadership school from the Southeastern Leadership Academy, which is hosted, which is a partnership that's between the University of Tennessee Law Enforcement Innovation Center and UTC. Prior to law enforcement, she also served as a dispatcher in EMT for about 5 years. So I'm pleased to announce the promotion of Patrol Lieutenant Lee Taylor Norbergen. We're going to do this different this time. Here you go, Jacob. Good practice. I brought Band-Aid. There we go. Certificate of promotion. The Chief of Police, having placed special trust and confidence in professional excellence and leadership abilities of Lee Taylor Norbergen, having demonstrated these qualities in her capacity for greater responsibility and service, is hereby promote her to the rank of lieutenant. the authority and charge with all the duties committed to this one, effective on the date of May 25th. They bet me money. It was a good process. I didn't talk about this at the beginning, but we had detective leads, we had that, which also then created the time I'd been planning to create a patrol lieutenant position. So then that happened. And when we did that, well, that freed up a sergeant position. So then we had to go through that. Also, and I didn't say this, but now that Shane was promoted to sergeant, that will now open up a detective position. So we'll have to go through that process as well. So we'll be up here in a couple months or so, or 3 months, whatever, and do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Chief, and congratulations again to our promotees. Thank you for your service to our community. We'll move along to item number 2, our monthly financial update from our CFO, Ms. Pickle. Oh, can you talk into the microphone? You might have to lower it. Okay.
Is that better?
I don't know if anybody can hear you. Yeah.
So good evening, commissioners and everyone else present. The financial update, I'm not sure if you guys have gotten it attached to your packet. It was kind of last minute. So there's no surprises. Everything is flowing along smoothly. And actually, if you look on the bottom of the first page, you can see that we're at 96% for the year for revenues, and that's slightly up. Well, it's above the 91.67%. That's expected. So that's good news. The expenditures they're right on target. They're actually at 91% for the general fund. And all the other funds are as expected. Some of them are up more in revenue than others, like the drug fund, that's way up. So that's what the DEA shares in this year. So that's in that. Insurance went down on things that we're looking to. So, but everything is as expected. There's no surprises. But you guys have any questions?
And this is current up
That's
through
for May.
May. Okay.
It'll be next month in June.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions for Ms. Pickle? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving along to item number 3, appoint Rhonda Basner to the Cemetery Citizen Advisory Board, resolution number 25-1806. Director Tate.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, it's good to see everybody in a different venue tonight. I just want to start out by saying, sometimes people move to a town and they look for jobs. And they look for churches to attend, civic organizations to belong to. But Rhonda Basner moved to the city of Red Bank recently and found a position on the cemetery board. I invite her to come up at this time. In all honesty, this is my first opportunity to meet with her. She was unanimously approved by the Cemetery Advisory Board to fill the remains open seat. And she has a lot of experience. I want to read what she put on her application, that she was on the board of the Funeral Consumer Alliance of Georgia. And I think the city manager and I decided that we're all going to get there, but Rhonda will be able to tell us how to.
Yes.
But I'm going to just let her introduce herself and talk, and we're grateful that she participated and enjoyed everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Basner, and as Greg said, I moved here recently and was just really taken with Red Bank. I didn't really realize when I moved here that there was a municipality, and I just wanted to dive right in, and then I saw that there was a position open on the cemetery board, and I am very active in death education and advanced directives and end of life.
Mhm.
And I just would like to be more involved and get Red Bank just to realize, to tell Red Bank that, we're gonna go. So I want to help you out to go and just to get your ducks in a row and just, be part of the cemetery board. Hopefully we can expand on some other things.
Yeah.
as well.
Perfect. Wow. Thank you so much for volunteering. We appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
Yes. We're excited to have you. Thank you. And welcome to Red Bank. All right. Item number 4, appoint Tiffany Bell to the Nonprofit Citizen Advisory Board, Resolution number 25-1802. Director Johnson.
I'm not sure if Tiffany is here this evening. We were unable to connect prior to this particular meeting. But as a refresher, we did have a conversation last meeting, but I think there's technicalities on the agenda title, so we're making it more formal this evening. Tiffany is filling a vacant position for our nonprofit advisory board, which she does bring prior nonprofit experience with her, which is basically perfect timing since we have our active phase 2 2025 grant applications that are out right now. So we're hoping to have those closing at the end of this month, just in time for their next July meeting.
Wonderful.
Excited to have her on board.
Very excited. And excited that we'll get to vote on it tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 5, budget discussion. Mr. Granum,
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
good evening.
And I put together a few slides that are really just intended to remind everybody where we left off and set the stage for a commission conversation and work session regarding what actions the commission will take following this at regular session. So just a reminder, we passed at first reading on the 20th of May. It was scheduled for a second reading on the 17th, on the 3rd of June, but it was tabled. And so here we are on the 17th. Next slide, Tracy. Thank you, ma'am. 3 things on our agenda. Just we'll go into detail about the process around the tabling. A reminder that this is a reappraisal year, which adds a layer of complexity. And then turn it back over to the commission for discussions of 3 scenarios that are included in the work session agenda packet. So this is very wordy, but I wanted to tell the story in one slide. So the process tonight will resume where the commission left off. That is a tabled second reading of the FY26 proposed budget ordinance from 3 June. Staff understood by consensus of the commission during that discussion, the second reading will be amended to include a full-time stormwater supervisor. Accordingly, all 3 budget scenarios in the work session packet do incorporate a stormwater supervisor. And they also spread the cost of the public works director to all 3 of the funds in public works. The real difference between the 3 scenarios comes down to 2 things: the level of property tax revenue and ultimately the adopted property tax rate, and the projected use of fund balance. So here I'll go into some key details on each of the 3 scenarios that are in more detail in the work session packet. Scenario 1 is really, from a revenue standpoint, no change from the first reading. Scenario 1 is no additional tax increase from first reading, but a reminder, the first reading itself had a 5% tax increase. The use of fund balance in scenario 1 is projected to be $415,675. Scenario 1 envisions an FY26 tax rate of 94.164 cents. Scenario 2, it does have an additional tax increase from the first reading of approximately 1%, for an overall property tax increase of approximately 6%. Use of fund balance is projected to be $363,175. This scenario 2 envisions an FY26 tax rate of 95 cents. Scenario 3, additional tax increase from the first reading of approximately 4%, for an overall property tax increase of approximately 9%. Use of fund balance projected to be $205,675. This scenario 3 envisions an FY26 tax rate of 98 cents. Staff have prepared suggested amendments for each scenario above to use to amend the budget ordinance at second reading during the regular session. Staff do not advise passing at second reading an amended budget that increases property taxes beyond that envisioned in scenario 3, or greater than 9%. Rather, if there is a desire from the commission tonight to go beyond that revenue, the proper approach would be to vote down at second reading the current budget ordinance and reboot the budget ordinance process. Next slide, please. Reminder of the reappraisal year. Typically, a key component of each year's budget ordinance is the commission establishing the tax rate for that year in order to support the projected property tax revenue in the budget. However, this is a reappraisal year. In Hamilton County, it's every 4th year. At this interim point in the process, the median appraisal change for all residential and commercial properties in Red Bank is all 5,253 parcels, is 59.05%. Red Bank's certified tax rate is now known to be 0.8968, basically 89 cents, a little over 89 cents, down from the current $1.67. For the purposes of submitting the budget to the comptroller, their guidance is to remain silent on the tax rate itself until it's formally adopted by ordinance in the coming months. There just isn't enough time left in this fiscal year to incorporate a new tax rate conversation. So we're in this interim stage. Even though we know the certified tax rate, there's not enough time in the budget year to complete the tax rate process. The City of Red Bank must state our intentions regarding either increasing property tax revenue, i.e. a tax increase, or not increasing property tax revenue, i.e. remain revenue neutral, to justify the revenue projections incorporated in the budget. That allows the comptroller to evaluate the budget that we pass and make sure that it's financially sound based on our anticipated tax collection revenue. Next slide, please, Tracy. So I'll just go over the scenarios as they're presented, and this is just staff's best effort to provide a framework for a conversation for the discussion as we move out of a table second reading. So there's nothing, the commission is free to do as the commission sees fit this evening. The staff have teed up these 3 scenarios sort of as bookends and to really provide a point of departure for the discussion. So again, scenario 1, no change, no additional tax increase from the first reading. And as a reminder, the first reading passed unanimously, and it included a 5% tax increase. The use of fund balance projected to be $815,675. Scenario 1 envisions an FY26 tax rate of 94.164 cents. Scenario 2, additional tax increase from the first reading of approximately 1%, for an overall property tax increase of approximately 6%. Use of fund balance projected to be $363,175. This scenario envisions an FY26 tax rate of 95 cents. Scenario 3, additional tax increase from the first reading of approximately 4%, for an overall property tax increase of approximately 9%. Use of fund balance projected to be $205,675. This scenario envisions an FY26 tax rate of 98 cents. The real difference between scenario 1 and 2 and 3 is the level of tax revenue and the projected use of fund balance. As the tax revenue goes up slightly, the projected use of fund balance drops.
Right.
And as a reminder, staff does not recommend exceeding scenario 3 as a second reading amendment. Thank you, Mayor. It's all right with you. Take seats.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Granum.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate the summary. Updating folks in case they had missed on our certified tax rate. Does anyone want to start?
Well, I've been, if I may,
Sure.
Mayor, I've been taking the time since our last meeting to mull over what these different scenarios could mean for the typical Red Bank taxpayer. So with the help of our CFO, we ran numbers. Thank you, Mayor. We ran numbers based on the median household value, appraised value. Now, it's very difficult to say to one individual to the next how the certified rate versus a 5%, 9% increase would affect your tax bill personally, because property values vary so wildly, and changes in assessed value vary so wildly. So, for example, my property was only assessed up 28%, which is well below the median assessment increase of almost 60%. However, I also know people who saw their assessed value increase 80%. And so, to be honest, with my property value only increasing 28%, every scenario here sees my tax bill decreasing drastically. Even if we quote unquote, increase the tax rate for Red Bank, the dollars I'm paying are still going to go down because of how my property in particular was affected by the assessment, but other people's would go up more or might even stay the same. So in order to try to have some starting point of a conversation of what this means to the average taxpayer, the CFO put together a chart that used the median household appraised value. So that was before and after the assessment. And I think before the assessment, the median value was around 43,000. Thank you. And the new one's 70. No.
69.
I need to pull up the paper and put it in front of me. Thank 69,000. Thank you. The number that I retained is the dollar amount that property tax bill would go up. So even in the scenario 1 that was unanimously approved, that bill would go down. And even in scenario 3, which is the 98 cents, that's the highest number of the scenarios being presented, the median bill increase would be from what you paid the previous year would be about $30 a year. And divide that out, that's like $2.50 a month if you have it amortized on your mortgage. So maybe a cup of black coffee if you can find it really cheap somewhere.
If I may, Vice Mayor,
Please.
just to clarify, you are talking about the Red Bank portion
The
of
Red
the
Bank,
tax bill.
yes. Now we know that the county has already announced that they intend to accept the equalization rate. And so the county tax rate is going down significantly. Again, what that means to your property as an individual, most likely, statistically, it should stay about the same. But again, depending on your assessment, it could go way up or way down. Please correct me, Mayor. I've been spending all week trying to wrap my head around all these different scenarios for different people, and my mind is swimming with numbers.
I can speak to that just based off of this River and Ridge paper that we all get for free every week. That just came out on June 11th. Where they talked to Marty Haynes, who is the Hamilton County property assessor, about the certified tax rates that came back. So as the Vice Mayor said, the county properties are going to be taxed at a rate of 1.5157. Before it was 2.23. So like I said, about a 70-ish cent drop. And they said, well, we understand hopefully what the certified tax rate is. It's to kind of bring you revenue neutral to where you were last year. So that's why ours dropped so dramatically from $1.67 to 0.8968, because our values went up very high in Red Bank this year, which it happened in 2021 as well. But because, as Vice Mayor said, because properties, I'm reading this from the article, experience different increases in assessed value, around a third of county property owners can expect to pay significantly more in property taxes than they did last year, given higher values, County Assessor Marty Haynes said. So a third of you are going to pay significantly higher Hamilton County tax bills because our assessed values went up so much above that median assessed value across the county. So almost everyone, my property went up 54.12%. So just under that median, and our Red Bank tax bill goes down in every scenario that was mentioned tonight. And our Hamilton County tax bill goes up $49. But depending on the tax rate we decide on tonight, that decrease in my Red Bank tax bill actually balances out the increase in my county tax bill, to where even if it was a 98 cents tax rate, my overall tax bill drops $7, which isn't a lot, but it stays about the same. So that's even at that 98 cent rate. So that's going up a little over 9 cents. So like I said, because I'm closer to the middle, you can kind of take that information and apply it to your assessed value, how much it increased, to kind of give you a perspective based on, the vice mayor's very low increase. And I also have a friend who's went up 80%. And at that 98 cent tax rate, their tax bill in Red Bank would go up $52 a year. And that's it. Their county tax bill is going to go up $260 because there was such a big jump in their assessed value. So your county tax bill is what's probably going to go up this year. For many Red Bank residents, your tax bill is going to go down or stay about the same or increase a dollar or two a month, depending on which percentage increase we end up deciding on tonight. And one of the things I thought was interesting that Marty talked about in this article was, he said most of the existing homes that were built in the 40s and 50s, the single family home with 2 bedrooms and a bath and a half, that's 1,400 square feet, it could have gone from 130 or 140,000 to 220,000. Those are the folks that are going to get hit with the biggest percentage of the increase. So Red Bank, East Ridge, along with some of Chattanooga's poorest neighborhoods, saw some of the bigger increases in value. And that's why our county tax bills are going to be affected more than our Red Bank tax bill. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I wasn't trying to interrupt. I'm sorry, but I had that, and it was not, it hopefully complemented what you were trying to discuss.
Yeah, there's so many different possibilities and scenarios for different individuals. It is very difficult to talk about in a holistic
Yes.
picture, but we're going to try our best to have that conversation.
Does anyone else have any thoughts they are ready to share?
I did the similar thing. I did the numbers
Okay.
and looked at the median compared to my value, my assessed value. Did the different scenarios as well.
Did you want to share about that?
It was similar. My Red Bank bill would decrease any of the scenarios
Okay.
that are presented.
Do you know how much your property value increased by, your assessed value?
I didn't do the percentage, but in numbers wise, it was 12,000.
Dollars.
I know.
Okay. Commissioner?
None went up 60%.
Okay.
You're right at the average.
Did you have any thoughts about any of the scenarios that we were looking at or considering?
Yeah, I'm kind of just torn between scenario 2 and 3. And I was hoping maybe staff could kind of flesh out what functional difference there would be, with the scenario 2 versus 3. Does that, it doesn't, we're not adding any bandwidth necessarily to like our staffing. We're not, aside from the stormwater supervisor.
Yeah.
But as far as like, what functional difference from 2 to 3 does that change?
The real difference is I would say more in the long term, in the projected use of fund balance. We've been looking at a lot of capital needs, and they're not teed up enough in this budget year to really we're not at a decision point. But there are millions of dollars of capital requirement across the desire to make investments in our multimodal, develop parks, recapitalize our public works building, and we know those bills are coming in the next 5 to 20 years. So protecting our fund balance is probably a very healthy thing to do at this point. We have a relatively healthy fund balance. And so not drawing that down allows us to begin this next decade of recapitalization in a very strong position. And I'll just give a few specific examples. Much of what we want to do is going to require a grant. But even to put together a grant application, you have to invest in concept development and some redesign. That would be the cash our fund balance would be available to really tee up the kind of grant ask that is competitive for a grant award. So the use of fund balance basically is what it's all about at this point, the scenario difference between 2 and 3. Scenario 3 is a more, it leans on the fund balance a little bit more. Scenario 2 leans on the fund balance a little bit less. So scenario 3 is healthier if you have a long-term view of needing that extra cash to begin capital losses. But operationally, it doesn't really change anything in this budget year. The staffing is the same. Our projections on service delivery are the same. And our pursuit of the commission goals is the same between all 3 scenarios.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Do we have any numbers on the in-between numbers between 5.9322 and 9.277% increase, proposed increase?
It had the, I think 96 cents and 97 cents.
Okay.
You want me to come get that paper?
I got you.
Maybe you could come up to the microphone so we can all hear you.
So we have added a 7%, which would be correspond to how many cents? 96. A 96%, a 96 cent tax would have a fund balance of the use of $308,193, and it would be an approximately 7% overall tax increase. It's 2% above first reading, 7% overall.
Can you say that number again? The revenue, the use of fund balance? It's okay. I was trying to type it so I could have that to reference. It's okay.
We'll hand out, these are really intended for, once the commission's selected, then that would be the amendment that you'll read, but it contains all the information that you're after.
Thank you.
The 3% above the first reading, for a total of 8%, that uses approximately $249,352 of fund balance. And that's a 97% tax increase.
An 8%, 8% tax increase. Okay. Total.
They're labeled scenario 4 and scenario 5.
Okay.
Are the missing, the 96 cent and 97 cent increments.
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor.
You mentioned that it would be healthy for us to preserve our fund balance in order to be able to really attack that capital improvements program once we have it ready to go, which is, we're on the brink of that. Am I understanding that's probably next fiscal year?
Yes. Maybe even this fiscal year, in terms of an unbudgeted expense to begin concept development or take the design to the next level. And some of the more pressing projects like the public works facility, we're actively engaged with a consultant on that, large consultant that's been before the commission. So we are months away from a decision on starting to spend money on the leading edge of that capital project.
Which is tens of millions of dollars deep once we start
It's
diving
certainly
into
millions.
that.
It's certainly millions, absolutely.
Well, if we start talking about, you mentioned multimodal improvements in our public works facility, but of course we also have the former Red Bank Middle School site that a ton of residents, including myself, are itching to see turn into something, really beautiful for our community, and our pool. So all of these, and that's just, again, scratching the surface. We have sidewalk additions. We have a lot of things planned, and then of course, the typical capital, like, vehicle replacements, things like that. I would argue that, tell me if you agree, that the healthiest thing might be to not anticipate any use of fund balance this year and have our budget be neutral and not use any of those funds that we are actively anticipating needing to have in a very short timeline.
From a standpoint of, yes, the short answer is yes. It would be healthy to have revenues that we anticipate needing to do everything we plan on doing this budget year without taking the fund balance. Absolutely. The reason, if you go back to the budget estimate that staff originally proposed, used a fairly large amount of fund balance, was because taking a little longer term view of the city's revenues. It's really hard to have a 1 year look and get all these variables really squared away. And so we made a decision that for starting the conversation, we would start with a higher use of fund balance and then see where the commission's sensibilities were in terms of wanting to whittle that down and possibly even eliminate it. Absolutely, from a long-term standpoint, you can't sustain using fund balance year over year. But our fund balance is healthy, and we don't anticipate using it indefinitely at the rate that we proposed initially. So we just made a judgment call to start the conversation at that point. But a healthier conversation long-term would be zero use of fund balance.
And to aid in that conversation, what would be a tax rate that would, the highest scenario listed that was just presented was about a $200,000 use of fund balance, so at a 0.98. So what would be the rate for a zero use of fund balance?
By our calculation now, would be
$1.01.
would be the tax rate that would achieve no use of fund balance. But again, in the construct of our discretionary ability to take the first reading and amend it into a passed ordinance, that's really beyond an acceptable reach at this point. But if the commission were to want to pursue a $1 tax rate, then the path to that would be to go down the second reading, the current budget ordinance, and then reboot the whole budget process.
But that would put us beyond the due date.
Well, we'd have to schedule some extra meetings. We would go through a process that involved a continuation budget. We would schedule 2 extra meetings in the remaining days of June. Tentatively 20 June and 30 June, Friday 20 June and Monday 30 June, and we would pass a continuation budget. The continuation budget is essentially our current FY25 budget. That would satisfy the comptroller that we're operating with a sound financial plan. And then
We
as
would
soon as
only
we
be like authorized to continue to spend the funds that were allotted for FY25. So we couldn't spend anything that we had, that we're budgeting now for FY26 after July 1 until we pass the new budget.
Then in July, we would come back and entertain, we restart the budget process in July for FY26.
Thank you. We will have to go ahead and stop this conversation for right now. We have a hard stop at 5:45 for citizen comments on items on this agenda. So we will continue this discussion during the regular meeting at 6 o'clock. Mr. Granum. And we'll do the remaining items on the work session agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 2 minutes or less here in the work session. The city recorder will operate a timer. Please respect her direction and conclude any comments if time expires. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner, the city staff, or to the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage in back and forth. So please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. At this time, citizens are invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. There we go. I can play sound sometimes.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. Greetings from Chattanooga City Council, where I may or may not have come in on 2 wheels. No, I was safely observing all posted speed limit signs. That's a joke. Josh Branham, Governmental Affairs Director, Greater Chattanooga Realtors, 2963 Emcall Highway. I have some housing data for you all for the city of Red Bank. Just a couple quick high points. The median sales price. Actually, I'll start with the inventory of homes for sale. This was for the month of May. You all doubled the amount of houses that were for sale from 17 houses in May of last year. They bumped it up a little bit. Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, we did that too? Thank you. I'll do that in a second. So you went from 17 houses to 34 houses, doubling the inventory, which I believe, I'm no economist, but the median sales price dropped from $340,000, which was May of last year, to $316,000 this year, which is a noticeable decrease in median sales price. Also, I'll figure out what that is. That's okay. But the second piece of paper there, I'm proud to announce you all are familiar with the placemaking grant for Greater Chattanooga Realtors. We are now open and accepting our 2026 applications for the placemaking project. Just a quick refresher. The only stipulation is that there are a few stipulations. It has to be on public property, can't be on private property, and it needs to be accessible to the community at most times. This is up to $25,000 funded by Greater Chattanooga Realtors, our members. And that's it. Thank you all. And if you need anything, just holler at me and I'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
it. All right. Any other residents who'd like to make comments on items on the work session agenda? You will also have the opportunity to give comments on items before we vote on them on the regular agenda, as well as at the end of the meeting on items not on the agenda. Okay. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name is Kathy Spade. I live at 2104 Ashmore Avenue. My understanding is you're voting on the budget and planning to increase taxes for residents. And I just want to say I'm very much opposed to that. I'm already paying a lot of taxes locally, and I am just very much opposed to that. I'm on a fixed income, and I just cannot afford to pay my taxes, and I would like to not do that. Period. The end.
Thank you, Ms. Fake.
Luke McKay, Trouble, 2616 Berkeley. I just have to make a comment back to that. It seems like to me, both for the county and the city, those who are in the less expensive houses got hit harder with the reassessment. And mine's on the lower end, I got hit harder than most of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I don't work anymore. Right now I'm retired. So, yeah, limited.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe.
Hi there, I'm Pam Day. I live in 210 California Avenue. I was born here in Chattanooga and was lucky enough to move back in 2016, and I was able to afford a home in Red Bank that was within my budget, and I was on Social Security only. And of course, I'm still primarily on Social Security. The house in value, yes, has risen, but my income has not risen to match it. I can't sell my house for that expensive price that it is worth now. For one, if it's my permanent home, and two, where would I go? I'm going to be there till probably I go into a nursing type facility. So my income is very limited. There's a lot of people in my situation, I think, in this area, a lot of people with older homes and older people. And our incomes have not gone up the way the prices of homes have. So my monthly house payment is just like $75 a month. And that's taxes, and it's hard on me. They continue to go up. I have nowhere to go. So I'm hoping to take that into consideration for older people that don't have management incomes to be able to afford.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Any further comments at this time? Oh. You do just have 2 minutes in the work session for a comment.
Okay.
As a reminder, and state your name and address for the record.
Lori Kyle, 3406 Reading Road.
Thank
Is
you.
it best to present my conversation now or at the end of the official meeting?
You can speak now on any item on the work session agenda. And then if it's specifically around this budget tax conversation, you will have an opportunity to speak before we vote on it as well. And you'll have 3 minutes to give a comment at that time.
Okay, I think I will wait.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments at this time? Okay.
Fred Ferguson, 3426 Hartford Drive. I do oppose any tax increase whatsoever for anything. I oppose adding another position to a 6.5 square mile city, landlocked by the city of Chattanooga. I'm not denying any of the ideas of land you folks have. You know, they're nice. The cemetery looks nice. The Red Bank Cemetery, the fence and I think that was about $24,000. I can't remember. I don't know how much the entryway cost. I haven't been here in a while. Looks great. Not denying that, but is it a priority to spend that money on a cemetery where they're not going to fence for 200 years? Couldn't we have done something cheaper? Bushes around it, you know, with Elliot's roses, I don't know. Anyway, I do not support that increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. Any further comments? Okay.
James Smith, 109 West Daytona. I, of course, if you're asking me, I prefer no tax increase. You know, but I get it. One thing I'm kind of curious about is this, and I know you can't answer that today, but the 7 million or whatever they have said. And I know you're doing, is you maximizing the interest on it, or is there something in the list, like what kind of rate of return you get on that money? That's a lot of money. I saw the interest, it looks pretty healthy. But, you know, there's so many, you know, great bonds up there now, I was wondering, how you know, how liquid you have to maintain that. I didn't say.
Ms. Pickle, if you will.
I don't want to, I know I'm not supposed to ask you, but
Yes, we do invest any money that is not currently in the checking account. It's not working, so that way it can actually make money for the city.
yeah.
And so I maximize those the best I can. So I keep the balances low on the checking account. And balances all go toward the LGIP, which is the local government investment pool. And then we have some also investment accounts in that for certain.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any further comments at this time? Okay, if you have to come back up to the podium, Miss Day.
Sorry, this is my first meeting here, so
Welcome.
very nice to be involved. And I understand you have a microphone, so you know and we know what we are saying, but I couldn't really follow what she said, couldn't hear it. I heard most of his questions, it was about the interest rate, I believe, but without microphones, we can't hear what y'all are saying.
Okay,
So that was just a helpful suggestion.
we'll work on, we're going to pass this one down like throughout discussion as we get to that. And then, yeah, we have a microphone over there on that table that we can pass if we need to.
Mayor, I'll just quickly comment that our certified municipal finance officer, our chief financial officer actually operates under the rules of the comptroller of the state of Tennessee regarding investments, and the LGIP is a comptroller administered fund or process relating to corporate municipalities, list of generally to invest money that's appropriately embedded by the state. And the criteria is safety, liquidity, and yield in that order. So public monies are always invested in very safe investments. They're invested in a way that preserves liquidity And then third on that list is yield. And so we do have some flexibility. We have relationships with First Horizon that go back many years, and they've served us well. So we operate under comptroller guidance. We have relationships with some comptroller entities, the LGIP, local government investment pool, and also some separate instruments with First Horizon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Granum. We'll, if there's no further comments at this time, we'll go ahead and adjourn our work session and return in about 2.5 minutes for our regular meeting. So adjourn.
And if anybody needs